What's happening, guys? Josh here with Squatch Cooks. Thank you for coming back and visiting the channel, watching this video, whether it be on YouTube or any of my socials. I really appreciate it. If you could just give me some love, hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button on this video, and just giving me a follow anywhere else, I would really appreciate it. So today we're making some cheeseburgers, getting prepped for UFC 324. Absolutely outstanding card. The first seasoning that we're putting into this meat, which by the way is a 70-30 ground lean meat to fat ratio, and this first seasoning is an Atkins garlic and herb seasoning. If you're not putting garlic and herb in your hamburger meat for cheeseburgers, tacos, whatever, I'm not sure what you're doing, because it is an absolute must in my opinion. This is Honey Hog from the amazing Meat Church Seasoning Company. Thank you, Matt from Meat Church out there in Texas. Appreciate you, love your seasonings. And what we do with this one is basically we put it in there to give like a sweetness factor. So this is just a brand, I believe, what was that, Kinder's, from Walmart. This is the main seasoning I'll be using. We're using like 4 tablespoons of that there. I like to go heavy with the seasonings with hamburger, briskets, anything like that, because you really can't over season it with a lot of these seasonings nowadays. A lot of them don't have salt in them anyway. Wash your sister sauce, putting that in there as kind of like a binder to get the seasonings to stick to the hamburger, even though hamburger's already pretty darn sticky. But like I was saying, that last seasoning there, I believe it was a Kinder's. It's a brisket and burger rub. So this is the main seasoning I'm using in this, basically because it's an SPG, which is salt, pepper, garlic, and then there might be a couple other seasonings in there, but the base, salt, garlic, pepper, you can't go wrong on any kind of meat, just leaving it with the the holy trinity, those 3 seasonings. So that's it all mixed up. So now what we're going to do is start shaping the hamburgers. So I'll show you how I form 1 or 2 of these hamburgers, putting them on a tray with some parchment paper. This is just for them to peel a little bit easier, so they don't stick as bad. You've got layers in between the hamburgers, and they don't stick with each other when you go to put them on the Blackstone or the flat top grill, whatever you're using to cook these up. So I'm a big guy, 6'5". I've got large hands, and I know that from my palm to one of my middle knuckles, the bottom middle knuckle on my fingers, if I get the meat within 3/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch from my palm to that knuckle, it's going to be a 1/3 pound to a 1/2 pound patty, somewhere in between there. And I believe we had 6 pounds of meat here, which was divided into, I think we had 18 or 20 burgers, which comes out to be about 1/3 of a pound each patty. So that's perfect. When you put them on the grill, they're obviously going to shrink, and that's really why you want kind of like a fattier blend. That's why I went with a 70-30 blend, is because the leaner the meat, the more it's going to shrink, the more it's going to cook down, and ultimately just kind of collapse on itself. So you have those fatty elements to kind of, so it doesn't shrivel down so much on itself, creating this burger that's just small and sometimes overcooked, and you just don't want to mess with it. So a good fat ratio in burgers. Do not be afraid to have some grease on your burger. That's a good thing. This right here, we are making a burger sauce that is sweet relish. So if you have ever been to In-N-Out, us living in Arizona, we have a few In-N-Outs in our area, and their sauce is a very basic sauce, the In-N-Out spread that comes in the packets. So that consists of mayonnaise, ketchup, mustard, and relish, and Worcestershire sauce. So those 5 ingredients create In-N-Out sauce. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting about 1/3 of that mason jar full of mayonnaise, putting in about 2 tablespoons of relish, and then after I kind of pack that down or whatever, I cover it with ketchup. Probably 4 to 5 tablespoons of ketchup is what I should be putting in this. And then after this ketchup, a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons of mustard, and that gives it some kind of a tanginess. Then after that, you put in about 1/2 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. In my opinion, Worcestershire sauce is a very underused ingredient. It is very, very flavorful, and it gives a really good flavor in sauces, in like steak marinades, or even like we're doing here. I put some in the hamburger meat. Just gives it kind of this like tangy and almost smoky smell and flavor. It's really, really nice. So we've got the Blackstone turned on here. We're going to start with our bacon. Reason we start with the bacon is because all that grease from the bacon on top of the 70-30 ground beef. Like I said, don't be afraid of grease when you're cooking burgers. The more grease, the better. You can always dap it off later. But the grease lets the fibers and the muscles relax as they're cooking. So these burgers, if you watch, I've got 4 burgers on there right now, 5 burgers. And as these cook, they don't shrivel down too much. So they're going to fit the buns nicely. Also, another in and out trick, they put mustard on their burgers when they put them on the flat top, so that's what I'm doing here. If you have never put mustard on your burgers, do it. It gives you an outstanding texture as they cook, an outstanding flavor. Like, mustard is also an absolutely underused condiment. Alright, so this bacon was getting nice and cooked up. The Blackstone heats up towards the middle a little bit, so we're pulling them out of the middle, spreading them out, getting ready to start flopping over those burgers over to the grease side to finish their cook. And you can see that char that the mustard leaves on there. You can see the discoloration and everything. When you bite into that, you're barely going to taste that mustard, but it gives you this texture to the burger that's outstanding. So here we are just finishing off the rest of those burgers. As these cook, I'm going to be adding some cheese here. So we've got 2 provolone. We do, I think it was like 15 or 16 of them with all-American cheese. I just use the singles yellow American cheese. I mean, I just like the way it tastes on burgers, the way it melts. Is it the best for you? Probably not, but it just tastes so good on a good tasting burger. After scooting over those patties, I'm putting on some hot dogs. I obviously didn't make those, although I do have a meat grinder and I will be working on sausage recipes, brats, making anything like that. My wife got me an attachment for Christmas. So right here we're leaving 4 plain, just in case we have somebody coming over that doesn't feel like having cheese. But back to the meat grinder. So my wife got me an attachment for our the KitchenAid. So I'm going to be doing videos on grinding meats. I'm going to be making my own sausages and brats. So watch for those videos in the future. I'm super excited to learn that process. That'll be something completely new to me. As I'm going along and we're moving things over, I like to start from the right and move left. So I was scraping the grease up towards the top, putting it into the grease trap as I take these burgers and dogs off, just kind of cleaning it up. And after we're done, we're going to head back inside and serve everybody all this gorgeous food. Like I said, UFC 324, this was the spread that we had. We had burgers, hot dogs, those buns that the burger is on is actually a homemade bun made by some of our best friends. She made the hamburger buns and the hot dog buns from scratch, and they were absolutely outstanding. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching this video. If you wouldn't mind leaving me a like, comment, subscribing, sharing, whatever you'd like to do, I'd love to interact with you guys, and I appreciate all the support. We'll see you in the next one.